Hi, sixth graders. Hope you're having a good week. We're all ready for break, aren't we? Okay, so this is the final slide that we're going to do in lesson 6. So you're going to need to go back into lesson 6. So this is the one that has the little pizza icon in front of it. Okay, so you went through and looked at the scenario with the pizza. Okay. And we decided that as a class, we needed to pick a restaurant that served pizza, although we might not all agree on what the best restaurant is going to be. We needed to kind of set up some criteria, and we might have had some constraints of what pizza place was going to work for our class. So you guys went through all of the criteria using the little explanation here in those slides, right? Okay, so back to these questions. How would we know if we identified a successful solution? An answer could have been maybe 75% of the students agree on the restaurants to choose. We may not please everybody, but the majority might work. Okay, so that was a sample answer. You might have something a little bit different than that, and that's okay. So, what's the difference between constraints and criteria? If you watched my instructional video, you found out that constraints are answered by a yes or a no. They're either yes, it meets it, or no, it doesn't. And a criteria would have a rating system. So, we have certain things that we definitely want in our solution. It may not meet the solution 100%, but we give it a rating, and then we can vote. If it meets all of the constraints, then we can go ahead and look at the criteria to see which one would be the best. So, how could criteria and constraints help us solve the problem? Narrows down, in our case, restaurants, and highlights the ones that would fit our needs. Okay, so in any situation, that's what criteria and constraints do. It narrows down. If you're met with all kinds of possible solutions, it narrows it down, and then you kind of figure out which one best fits your needs based on your criteria. Okay. All right. So in our pizza situation, um, it was hot enough to burn the mouth. So that's a 3. Super crisp, makes a crunch sound. That's a 3. Had 4 to 6 flavors. That's a 2. And unfortunately, this pizza place did not meet all of the constraints. So this is a pizza place that would not work because it doesn't have the right hours, not open during our lunch. Okay, which is hard because, we eat early in 6th grade, don't we? Okay, this is the kind of ending of what should this land be now. So what did we find out? We found out first that the parking lot is what's causing too much water to run into the stream. It's a faster pathway to water. The water is unable to infiltrate into the ground because of the parking lot. That's a slower pathway to the stream. In addition, by reducing the number of plants, we have less transpiration, so we have not as much water going into the atmosphere. The landowner wants to make sure that the land benefits the business owners in the area, and it allows the ecosystem to thrive, which includes reducing the stream being flooded. Okay. All right. Here you have 4 vocabulary words. I didn't give you a word bank, but maybe you were able to figure out which words go in there. So, how do humans and the change that we make on land affect the water, or any changes that we're going to make on the land? How will it affect the water going into the stream? Changes that we want to make or need to make. We need to increase water being removed from the system. So we're going to do that through evaporation, getting the water up into the atmosphere, and then water moving through plants and going into the atmosphere. So evaporation and transpiration. So number 2, we want to make sure water goes into a slower pathway towards the stream. So that would be infiltration into the ground. We want to decrease the faster pathway, which would be runoff. So decrease runoff to slow the rate of water entering the stream. Okay. All right. Then you were given a challenge to look at 4 different scenarios: soccer field, playground, water park with a green planting roof, and a rain garden. You had these 4 tasks cards in a Google Classroom that you looked at. You had to rate them given some criteria, and you were given some constraints. And did these scenarios meet those constraints? Okay, so let's go over those and review those task cards. All right. All right, so I just kind of have a general, get to the top here, review of what the scores probably ended up being. Might be off one or two, but I think these are the scores. So the soccer field replacing a parking lot. So remember, we have two sides to the stream, parking lot and field. The soccer field was proposed to replace the parking lot side. That got a total score of 14 for criteria. Yes, it met all of the constraints. The second one was the water park with a green roof. That was proposed to replace the parking lot. It got a little bit of a higher score, but it doesn't meet the constraints. So even though it has a higher score, it can't be a solution because it has to meet the constraints. Like, that's not negotiable. Epic Playground replaces field. This is now the other side of the stream, the field. And the Epic Playground, as fun as that would be, it did not meet all of the constraints. It did get a score of 11. Doesn't meet the constraints. Not negotiable, those constraints. So we cannot use the Epic Playground. The Rain Garden got a very high score, 17, and it met all of the constraints. So highlighted in red there are the solutions for each side of the stream. So it looks like our soccer field is what we're going to tell the committee to replace the parking lot with. And the rain garden, we're going to say replace the field with. Those are our recommendations. Okay. All right. So just this is how the scores were tallied. Okay. All right. If you need to pause this video at any time to see the numbers, you may. Okay, so we go back into our notebook, and the last slide is just now what are the recommendations. And some of you might have already figured this out and done this. Okay, all right, so this little camera. So I look at my Bitmoji. How did I do on my Bitmoji? Do I look like myself? Yeah, kind of. All right, okay. 12, slide 12. So which idea is best? Which is the recommendation? Well, we have two. Okay, so on the parking lot side, we're going to say we are recommending that the parking lot is replaced by a soccer field. The field should be replaced by a rain garden. That's it. Okay, so both of those situations show in our criteria and constraints that it will help reduce the flooding because we have more grass to allow for infiltration of water, so less of that water is moving into the stream. It is now in a slower pathway on both sides. It also has more plants, especially the rain garden, because that we need that water, a lot of that water to go up into the atmosphere. So plants are going to help with that. It also is benefiting community. People can come play soccer. They can have tournaments at this area. That's certainly going to bring in money to the community. And the rain garden, people, can visit the rain garden and enjoy those activities and also spend money in the area when they do come. So these are two good solutions that we can recommend to the committee. All right, that is it. When you are done with this slide deck, you are turning this in. This is all I am having you do today. So I'm not assigning any new assignment for today. Woo woo. But the expectation is that you are using the remainder of the time to work on other assignments, getting other assignments turned in that have been assigned. So that really is mostly this notebook and all the things that go with the notebook. Okay. And then I believe there was some brain pop, right? So watching a water cycle brain pop, doing the water cycle game. That was assigned yesterday. So get those things completed too. You guys all have a wonderful break. I hope it's relaxing for you and enjoyable, and that you get to see your family and friends, and that you eat lots of cookies. Okay. Enjoy those. We will see you next year. Bye bye.